For USCFootball.com, I'm Keely Eure here with Dan Weber for instant analysis of USC's Wednesday practice of Notre Dame week. And it also might be the last open practice that USC will have for this season, which is kind of an interesting, weird feeling at practice. It almost seems like the elephant in the room, even talking to players, senior players, which this could be their last practice, the last time we really talked to them before their final game. It's a weird, surreal feeling that I don't think this team has processed. This could be their last week of the season.
Yeah, I don't think any of us have processed it because, I mean, one of the difficulties is if this is their last, and it also practice in pads, it might be the last practice and all of that. If it is, that means they will have lost Saturday.
Yeah.
So to go over and talk to them about that, you basically would have to say you're assuming that they lost. So nobody wants to assume that that's going to happen. So more of the conversation today was about assuming that what's their last game in the Coliseum.
Yeah.
So I think it was easier conversation to have with like a Cam Smith or a Biggie Marshall about Saturday being their last game at the Coliseum.
Yeah, interestingly enough, Cam Smith, I asked him about what's your favorite USC memory when you look back on your time here, and he smiled and he said, actually, the 2016 Notre Dame game. And that was the game at the Coliseum where there was rain. He said it was pretty much everything you want from a football game, a hard physical game. They ended up winning. But it's interesting that that's his favorite memory, and it happens to be Notre Dame week.
Well, I think they just happened to show him the Notre Dame game from 2016. And, there's a lot of that trying to, rekindle good memories for Clay. He talked about this class of seniors, and he basically named every one of them, and how, his interim year, they were freshmen, and they helped him, as he said, they helped him get the job. And he's been in the foxhole with them all this time. You can tell, I think he does feel like they've let these guys down, or vice versa, how that's all worked out. But he, kind of felt an obligation to these guys, and that hasn't played out because they, did some good things for Clay, and as he said, and my family. And I do think that whole seniors thing is really heavy on Clay's mind. And again, looking at today, doesn't look like they're going to get the traditional senior week stuff where they get to wear their high school jerseys, or where they have the run the gauntlet out through the tunnel and all that. Even if they do that tomorrow, if nobody's around, nobody's here, it's not the same thing. So they're missing out on some things. There's no question about it. And then if they miss a bowl game, they just start shaking their head. The thought that they're not going to a bowl game is just too much. They can't verbalize it almost.
Yeah, it's surreal in that sense. But we got to talk to Iman Marshall about his time as a Trojan. What do you have to say? He seemed a little, what's the word?
Philosophical.
Thank you.
I said, because he's talking about, he's thankful to be out here every day. He's thankful to be able to play football. He's thankful to be at USC. I said, boy, this could be your last practice in pads, could be last practice. He said, yeah. He said, who would want to leave USC? You want to be out here as much as you possibly can. He said, it's crazy how fast it's gone in his mind. And he, very kind of, what it will take, this weekend and why it hasn't happened for him. I said, boy, if you guys can play like that, this week, what happened maybe, there's times when you couldn't. And he said, boy, you can't really describe, why it didn't happen. He said, things happen in football that, you're not planning for, you don't like, and that's just kind of the way it goes. But just still hopeful that somewhere they can find that kind of, inspiration to get them through Saturday. But for these seniors, it's a tough week, I think.
Yeah. And Clay Helton said this is the toughest Notre Dame team that he will see in his career at USC. What do you expect from this Notre Dame team who Clay Helton said is complete on every side of the ball?
Well, they were so much more physical than USC last year, and you would think they're going to just try to do that same thing where they just come at you, power you. And USC hasn't shown the ability to most of the year to stand up to those really physical teams. So I'm thinking, USC really didn't have the ability to stand up that well to the physicality of UCLA, and so now you're talking about a whole different level of college football physicality, and it is hard to imagine how that Notre Dame team that was finishing up 4-8 2 years ago is where they are now. I mean, the idea that they have come back, as far as they have, as fast as they have, as physical, as they were last year, and just kind of, running over USC and South Bend, and then look where they are this year. It's just pretty much amazing. The trajectory, for example, in the last, in 2 years exactly, where they've gone and where USC's gone. It's kind of I guess it's a little bit of a lesson that that it's possible, but it's also a lesson that if you don't get it right and if you don't go in that direction, you're going the other way.
Yeah.
And these are two programs that are just from that day that Cam Smith remembers so well to where they are now. The difference in all the things that have happened in Notre Dame, all the things that have happened here. Really makes a point that you've got to do everything right. You got to compete like crazy. Notre Dame had some tough choices to make about coaches that they kept on and how they were going to go about their football program, and they seem to have made all the right choices.
Yeah, well, that's how Clay Helton has been posturing this season. He's been isolating it he's compared it to Notre Dame and what happened in that season. I mean, for this tough Notre Dame team to come to the Coliseum, USC is expecting a lot of Irish fans to be in the Coliseum. If they get if it's a bad loss for USC, what do you expect going forward?
See, I don't know that a bad loss changes anything other than, a loss or a bad loss, you're still not going to a bowl game.
Yeah.
And you still have a losing record. To me, that's more important than how USC's had enough bad losses already. I don't know that they're going to quantify between a loss and a bad loss, because the 5-7 matters so much in terms of the bowl game and the losing year that I think they've had bad losses. I mean, it's like that wouldn't be so different. But the 5-7 record and getting really beaten down a couple of years in a row by Notre Dame, those would be the tough things I think to take.
Yeah. As far as injuries go, John Houston did not practice again, and it looks like Palaie Naoteote will be at that will position. That's what Clay Helton said in his post-practice presser, and that's something that didn't happen against UCLA when John Houston did go down. It was former walk-on Ruben Peters who played at that will position, which makes you wonder if he's going to play at the will position this week, or it looks like he will. Why didn't that happen last week? Yeah,
I mean, last week Clancy told us that he was a one-position player and that they would have had to, switch him to a second position. Yesterday, I wasn't sure what they were thinking about doing with him. They were obviously going to try to play him with Cam. Cam has played that position already, and Cam is, you can call the signals from either position, but they clearly decided, okay, we'll go with Palaie as the will guy. And I thought when you talk to him, he's handled it. He said, he loved his freshman year. Obviously, he says, I would have liked to have played more. I've learned an awful lot from Cam in terms of his ability to diagnose plays really quickly, but to have the patience not to go for it immediately and make sure you're in the right place doing the right thing. And Palaie said. A very good comment, I thought. My aggressiveness is a double-edged sword, and it gets me into trouble. I do some really good things, and it also gets me into trouble. So, he's taken all the right lessons out of this year, and it'll be great to see him, get a real chance to play against somebody. I mean, you have to have him on the field against this Notre Dame offense. I mean, you can't not have him on the field. They had to figure out a way to get him out there.
Yeah. Marvell Tell has been dressed out for the last two practices, but has not really done anything. He's more watch practice. And then Janae Harris looked a little gimpy after getting tangled up in a scout team play. Are you worried at all, concerned about the secondary? And I mean, the secondary depth in general is a concern, but especially now, are you worried at all?
Yeah, well, I thought it was an interesting moment in practice. Keely Ross was finishing up his workout, running down the street, and he turned down to go into McKay, and then he came across McClintock and knocked on the gate. And where you're thinking, gee, is he going to volunteer to help out today? And he wanted to talk to Tim Tessalone, but you just think, you lose Greg Johnson for sure now with the shoulder surgery, and Elijah Griffin, he's out there some, but they're saying that he's still, got his shoulder injury. So, and then if Marvell's, I mean, he didn't quite have the same extensive tape job today as he did yesterday, but it looks like he's not going to be able to be on that ankle for another day or two, and then it's just a matter of flip a coin now between now and Saturday as to whether he can go. But this hard to believe that was the position. You just thought they've got so many guys. What are they going to do? I mean, Talanoa Hufanga was third team safety when the year started, ends up as their probably their best tackler on the team, and doesn't make it through the last 3 games. So it's just amazing. Clancy said, you just play who you got.
Yep.
You just do the best you can, and that's all they can do. But not a position you want to be in against Notre Dame.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's pretty much it for our practice report. Probably the last practice report of the season. We don't know. Anything can happen, but it looks like it might be that. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
Yeah, you wouldn't want to be betting that there'll be another one of these, but who knows? As we said it a zillion times. Stay tuned. There may be other reports that are coming along, and there's a lot still probably to play out in terms of how this season is going to finish up, and you're going to have a lot of time where there are no football games, but I don't think this football program can finish where they are now without some serious repercussions in terms of staffing and just general. Where does this program go from here?
Yeah.
How does it get there? What's going to happen in terms of with so much. You got the Coliseum renovation. You just got so many things going on in recruiting. How's this season going to play into recruiting and all that? There's just a lot of things we don't have answers for at this point. But we hope to, as we go along, we'll try to keep you informed.
It's true. It may be the end of the season, but it won't be the end of the news. So make sure you stick around, and we'll keep you updated. Also, happy Thanksgiving, early Thanksgiving. We're thankful for you guys and watching us. But for Dan Weber, I'm Keely Eure. For more, check out uscfootball.com.